Richard Matturro is the instructor for Shakespeare's history plays for the Berkshire OLLI program in the upcoming semester. But, of course, he's also a novelist. So tell me about your writing a little bit and what inspired you to become a writer and then, of course, delve so deeply into this profession.
Yes, well, I've probably been writing since I was a little kid. I started a first novel back when I was 13, 14, something like that. Never came to anything. But I was at the Albany Times Union for 16 years, and I wrote numerous newspaper articles there. And then I started writing novels seriously, and I have been very lucky. I've had 6 of them published, so none of them reviewed in the New York Times, but still, it's been quite wonderful to have that happen. I tend to use mythology a lot, which is my other field. 3 of them take place in ancient times, and the other 3 are contemporary. They take place today, but they're often based on an ancient myth, but with a new twist and having modern characters and taking place in the present day. Yeah. And I recently finished a collection of short stories called Porch of the Maidens, and I'm going to be reading the first one of those at an event that the Town Players is holding in Pittsfield at the Whitney Center for the Arts on March 29th. It's a Sunday at 2 o'clock, so I'm looking forward to that.
Fantastic. And so we'll mention that one more time before we finish here, but the idea of mythology, because there are certain themes that ring true through all of mythology, and it's very interesting because things that we see today, things that we've experienced recently, there's these common threads there, and there's a certain universal aspect of mythology. And of course, that's why they still remain popular today, right?
Yes, I think so. There's never been a myth that I've used. I couldn't find some modern parallel for it. And in fact, that's what I did with all of the stories in this collection. There are 6 stories in one novella, and each one is named after a woman from classical mythology, and whatever the myth is that's connected with her. That's why it's called Porch of the Maidens. By the way, the title comes from a temple on the Acropolis, which you and everyone else has seen, although you may not know that term for it, but instead of columns, it's got female statues holding it up. But each one of these stories is a contemporary story, and I took whatever the myth about the woman was and tried to reconceive it as something that might happen today, and how would that play out?
It's interesting because there's been some, recent films, and it's kind of interesting, like the Coen brothers, "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou," loosely based on the Odyssey. And of course, reading the Odyssey, you're like, okay, other than a Cyclops and a couple other things, how is this really? But again, it's the theme and the experience, I guess, of the individual.
Yeah, I think knowing the myth, if you know the myth ahead of time, it can enrich the experience of reading the whatever the modern version is.
So March 29th.
March 29th.
Once again, mention that if you would.
A Sunday afternoon, 2 o'clock. Town Players is having a program which will have really 2 parts. One, I'll be reading a story, which will be about half an hour, and there'll be a 1-act play called, I believe, Southern Exposure. And it will be at 2 o'clock at the Whitney Center for the Arts, which is right on Wendell Avenue, almost directly behind the Colonial Theater.
Yeah, it's become one of those spaces in Pittsfield that everyone knows where it is now, the Wit. And so, Richard Matturro, great pleasure. Thanks for taking part, teaching this course, Shakespeare's History Plays, and you can see the information there on your screen about OLLI and how to sign up for the course, but also being involved in the community, being a great novelist, and taking part with town players. It's really cool.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.